Welcome to Cellmates.
I didn't know we were recording, so that's a surprise. Welcome. I'm happy. I'm pleased to be here. Welcome.
Good. I'm glad you're pleased to be here, Kate Phillips.
Thanks, Dick Ward.
You're welcome, Kate Phillips.
How's it going?
It's pretty good. We're smack dab in the middle of our 30 Days of Plus and also recording a normal episode.
We'll see how this works. So, Dick, remind me and anyone else who's been listening to this 30-day expedition what Cellmates podcast is.
So what it normally is we take two movies. Mm-hmm. They're
animated.
Usually Disney.
Well, they're
animated.
always animated.
Two animated movies. They're usually Disney.
Not always.
They're usually musicals.
Not always.
They're usually good.
Not always.
And we compare and contrast and generally throw like a Venn diagram over them.
Mm-hmm. That's true. That is usually what we do. I appreciate the reminder.
True.
Apologies to anyone who's just listening to this as like a normal episode.
No.
Again, we're doing 30 Disney Plus titles in 30 days, which means we've done a lot of recording and a lot of recording in a different format. Mm-hmm. And we're just a little loopy in life right now.
But
so
you know what?
We're doing our best, though.
We are doing our best.
Mm-hmm.
Like no one ever does.
Like no one ever...
Yeah, it doesn't really work. Okay, cool. So, Kate, what are you drinking?
Well, I'm drinking gingered ale.
Gingered ale.
Mm-hmm.
So, what is it about gingered ale?
I don't know. It seems like a party if I'm like 8 years old and I'm like, well, I'm done with milk and water. It's a Friday night. Let's party.
I'm a grown-up
Ginger ale.
Ginger ale.
Yeah, it's beer for kids.
Also, it's like pretty early in the day.
Yeah.
And we're recording.
That's true. You might even call this a Saturday morning. I mean, you'd be wrong because it's a Saturday afternoon.
No, but that's great.
But it's pretty much Saturday morning drink.
But I feel like I'm watching USA Cartoon Express and the train has come to the end and now Soul Train is on and I'm like, well, now I got to talk about those cartoons I just watched. So this does feel like a Saturday.
With that in mind,
we're recording on Saturday.
We are.
Yeah. I know this is a Monday for anyone listening, so that didn't make sense, but we are recording on a Saturday.
We sure are.
Boom.
Method. The two films that we are talking about today both have some Saturday morning cartoon connections. Mm-hmm. And even before that, they have connections as well. So our first movie is The Transformers, the movie.
The greatest rock and roll adventure of all time.
Is that the subheading?
That's a tagline,
Great. Yeah. And Pokemon, the first movie.
That's correct.
Mewtwo Strikes Back.
Yes.
There are many titles for this one. We've got to give a huge shout out to listener and internet friend of the show, Spencer. And Dick, can you give us a little background on what Spencer reached out to us?
Yeah, Spencer. First off, thanks again, Spencer, for reaching out. Spencer said, "I'm just gonna read from the message."
I worded it poorly.
Yeah. He said, "I have a significant fondness for the 1986 Transformers movie, appropriately called The Transformers: The Movie. I recognize that it's totally Saturday matinee fare, but there's really no movie that looks or sounds like it, and it hits a lot of my buttons because of that as a Transformers fan." Spencer gave us a couple of different suggestions and then said, like, hey, here's some stuff I think would pair well, but if you want to come up with something else, that's great too. So we decided we wanted to do, well, initially I thought it might be fun to do Transformers G.I. Joe.
Yeah.
But
so that would have been, so both were toys and then a series and then a movie. Is that how G.I. Joe works too?
Yeah, G.I. Joe was toys, like, I think G.I. Joe toys were from, like, the 50s or something.
Yes.
They're, like, old toys.
But they were a show and then a movie? or just
Yeah.
a movie?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
So yeah, those would have gone well. And actually, we discovered in our research that G.I. Joes and Transformers are more related than we thought they were.
Yeah. But then we thought, like,
They're kind of the
pretty
same
tonally
era,
similar. They're pretty similar animation.
like a lot of laser gun fighting.
So we decided we want to do something that's basically the same as Transformers history-wise, like creation-wise, but like the newer version of that.
Right.
So we've got Pokemon, the first movie.
Which started as a video game, and then a TV show, and then this first movie.
And by first movie, we mean like 2 shorts and a movie.
It's unclear
One of which was combined into
how
the movie.
this was released. So bleh. Should we talk about Pokemon first, since we're trying to figure out the order of things? We kind of talk about one movie at a time and then put them together.
That's true. That's how we normally do it.
So, Dick, I think answering this question will involve, what is your experience with this movie before podcasting?
Well, I will start by saying that I bought a Game Boy in 1996 or 7 for Pokemon.
Oh, for Pokemon.
Yeah, because I saw this game and I was like, yo, I need this. I don't remember when the American release was. I think Japanese release was 96. It might have been even later. It might have been like 98. Like way after Game Boys were a thing.
It kind of brought back Game Boys,
It brought
right?
the Game Boy back,
Yeah.
yeah. So I got a Game Boy. I got Pokemon Red. I raised a pretty sweet Charizard. And I was a big fan of the cartoon show, recognizing that I was far too old for it. Because at the time I was like, 16, 17. And I was in high school at the time, like you are when you're 16 or 17. And
Sometimes,
I took the day off. I think I just skipped. It was like a pep rally day or something. I don't know. So I skipped school to see the Pokemon, the first movie, in theaters at like noon. And I expected, my friend and I expected we'd be the only ones there. But there were a lot of children. So that was neat. So I saw this movie in theaters.
And so in a short moment, I'll be asking you what you actually saw in the theater, because there's a couple different, like you said, sections of this that are considered the movie or not the movie.
Right.
So same, my first introduction was the video game. My brother had the red version, which I guess is the correct version. I don't really know. No shade to the blue version. I just don't really know what the difference would have been.
Well,
Right?
they've got different Pokemon in them.
Oh, do they? But the main 3 are the 3 starter ones are the same in both. Bulbasaur was our seed, and my brother. So yeah, if this is 98, 99, I'm 8. My brother is 4. It was his Game Boy. It was his Pokemon game. But he's like,
Gesundheit.
thank you.
Holy cow, he sneezed all over the Pokemon.
All over the Pokemon.
Wow.
So he's like 4, 5, 6. He's really interested, but as you are when you're that young, he's really bad at video games. So my experience with Pokemon is long car trips, being handed a Game Boy and being told, hey, can you beat this trainer for me? And then I would like hand it back to him after I beat the trainer, and then he would play for like 5 more minutes. He's like, hey, can you help me with this? So I kind of beat Pokemon Red, very proud, but I couldn't tell you much about it beyond that. Like, I didn't really engage with it much outside of playing it in the car with my brother. I definitely came in contact with the show. He would watch it. I remember it was on the WB kids programming. I kind of thought the show was like, all right. I liked the Pokemon more than the humans. The humans were pretty boring. And I did not see any of the movies. But I like the theme song a lot.
Have you seen any other Pokemon movie before this Pokemon movie?
I sure have, Dick Ward.
Which one have you seen?
Detective Pikachu. the plush animal that's in my lap right now,
That's
Detective Pikachu. Yeah, for some reason, I just really needed to see that movie from the first trailer. I'm like, this looks adorable.
He's got a little hat.
It looks like a fun, like, not even send up, but like a fun modern treatment of Pokemon that does engage with them as their like original story dictates, but also doesn't make it seem cheesy. Like it seems like the jokes were going to be funny,
Yeah.
and they were using things in creative ways.
It does a great job of not being like a gritty adult version of Pokemon.
Right.
It's just a slightly realer version of Pokemon.
Yeah, it's a good story. I liked the movie. It wasn't astounding, but I really enjoyed seeing the movie.
I could watch depressed Pikachu sing the Pokemon theme song. And also
Gotta catch 'em all.
your first exposure to it, I think, was after the trailer was the Pikachu dance.
Pikachu does aerobics.
Which I think
we think is test footage for the Pikachu
is that
animation.
Ryan Reynolds?
Yeah, he's the voice.
He tweeted out
Oh yeah,
like leaked full version of the the Detective
Pikachu movie.
And then you click it, and it's 2 hours of Pikachu dancing to aerobic music.
It's like a 12-second loop of just Pikachu dancing to, and it's the best thing I've ever seen.
And it was on in our house for like a half hour one morning.
Yeah, and then I learned it on like a prep at school. I came home
that day with it.
and I could do the whole routine on loop. Very exciting times. So yeah, like I have an affection for Pikachu. Yeah. But it's been more recent that like I really love Pikachu. Yeah. So that's.
So Kate. Oh wait.
You're actually going to summarize it.
I'm actually going to summarize this.
And yeah, so I'm going to put a cookie timer on.
And I will, just in case anyone is confused, for our purposes, we did not watch Pikachu's Summer Vacation.
No.
Which came out with this movie, and I think I think I saw it in the theaters.
So the theatrical release seems like maybe a 2-hour thing.
Yeah, and it seems like there was a Mewtwo short that was just kind of smushed in with the beginning of this movie. So we saw
It's called The Origin of Mewtwo.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's 10 minutes.
So it starts with the origin of Mewtwo and then goes from there.
Right. But the theatrical release had a 20-minute Pikachu, kind of like Olaf's Frozen Adventure in front of Coco.
I think so, but I also think I might have like bought a VHS tape at a Comic-Con with it.
That's probably true, but at least my research has said that the whole movie is technically this 20-minute Pikachu's vacation, the 10-minute prologue, and then the 75-minute movie. For this podcast, we watched, it seems like the prologue and the movie together because it was like an hour and a half.
Cool.
Anyway, that's all.
Awesome. So, Kate, go ahead and put on a cookie timer.
I sure will.
And I'm going to do my best to summarize the Pokemon, the movie.
Catch 'em all.
Pokemon, the first movie?
Yes.
Within a 2-minute time frame.
Go.
Okay, so there is this Pokemon named Mewtwo. He's been created in a lab from the like DNA of a super rare ancient Pokemon named Mew, who is cute. He does not like this, and he's like, "Screw you, humans! I'm gonna blast you away." And then, like, the same basic thing happens again, where he learns not to trust humans. Anyway, so we've got boom, cut to Pokemon, the first movie. Narration, just like in the show, it's weirdly out of place. And then we've got Ash, who's like hungry, and Brock, who likes girls, and Misty, who's a girl, but Brock doesn't like, because, I don't know. She's like,
8?
I'm confused at their ages. I thought they were older than they actually are. Anyway, they want to be the best. They get invited to a like tournament to fight the greatest Pokemon master in the world. Team Rocket's there, and they're like, we want to go to this too. And Ash and Brock and Misty all go through like a super crazy storm to fight this greatest Pokemon master in the whole wide world. It ends up it's Mewtwo, and he's got clone Pokemon. And so Ash and Misty and Brock and all these other trainers that came along, and even Team Rockets, have to fight Mewtwo and his mutant clone Pokemon. And Pikachu fights a Pikachu, and Ivysaur fights an Ivysaur, and Meowth fights a Meowth. And Meowth really kind of solves the whole thing. But anyway, at the end, turns out everything's fine.
Fighting is bad.
Fighting is bad. Fighting animals is bad. Except for all of the other times when we fight animals. Pokemon aren't meant to fight for some reason.
And cookies are done. Cookies are done. And what happens to Mewtwo? Does he get blown up, or he just decides to
he flies away.
be nice?
He flies away to like a special island where he and his clones can live, and he wipes everyone's memory.
Right. So then they keep.
So I am.
It's kind of a dark ending then.
I am lucky that I remembered all of that.
Yeah. Oh yeah, because
because Mewtwo wiped my memory.
Could have been wiped too.
That's true.
Yeah, it's kind of like, when you think about it, a really dark ending.
Yeah.
That they like learn the secret of the world is like all of the entire premise of this franchise is morally terrible.
Reprehensible.
And then they just forget and keep on doing it.
Yeah.
It's this like nihilistic.
But it's also really strange because like they're like Pokemon shouldn't fight each other, but like I never get the feeling that Ash is gonna free his Pokemon so that they can go live in the wild.
It's similar to this Spirit and a Toothless thing of like, pets are a weird concept.
Pets are a weird concept.
Yeah,
it's like pets are a weird concept if they're sentient, which Pokemon are.
Pokemon are, and then you're fighting them.
Yeah.
So that's like dog fighting and cockfighting would be the analogs in the real world.
Well,
and that's pretty frowned upon.
In Japan, it's beetle fighting.
Right.
Where Pokemon kind of came from.
Like for real, that's how Pokemon was inspired.
Yeah. So anyway, that's the Pokemon movie.
I was not expecting to enjoy this movie. I loved it. Like, it is not that good of a movie. I loved it.
Yeah.
I was very entertained. The ending is weird and kind of makes everything fall apart.
The beginning is intolerably long.
See, I didn't mind. I don't mind a good villain backstory.
I also don't mind a good villain backstory.
Yeah, I know.
It was 10 minutes of Mewtwo saying the same thing over and over again, being betrayed by humans twice. I couldn't.
I mean, the alternative in my mind for Saturday morning cartoon is just a villain shows up and you're expected to just be on board with like, no, we don't like this. I don't care for that premise, so
sure.
I'd rather it err a little on the side of like hammering in the point too much.
A little bit on the side, not 10 minutes of I was created by humans,
but I
don't like being created by humans.
Because
humans created me. They are my creators.
It gave some pathos. It was an interesting premise of Pokemon shouldn't be enslaved, and you're like, oh, we're going here?
They could have done it in 1 minute, and instead they spent so much time on it.
Yeah, but I do feel like time spent also gives you an investment that a 1 minute doesn't. So I don't know. I kind of liked Mewtwo, and it's interesting for me to like be able to empathize with a villain.
Sure.
And his like philosophy. So I didn't mind it. But
all right, that's fair. I will say
Pikachu's cute.
Overall, I did enjoy the movie. It did not hold up as well for me as I remembered. I think when I saw it initially, I forgave a lot of things that watching it now, I'm like, why is there this terrible TV narrator? This is unnecessary. Like there are a couple things where I was just like, I don't need.
And
this.
Apparently the movies get better. There are better movies that follow it. Maybe not all of them, but
that's what we are told. Yes.
Yeah. All right. Shifting gears and decades.
Shifting gears. Because they're cars. Yeah.
Is that the sound? What is it?
Yeah, sort of like a.
Let's transform our conversation. To the Transformers, the movie.
Correct. The Transformers, the movie.
Also a toy TV movie progression. Evolution, if you will. Oh.
Yeah, and we'll talk more about the history of the Transformers.
Much more interesting than I thought.
Because it's fascinating.
Yeah.
Thank you, Reagan, I guess, for like just letting us do whatever on TV for a while. So, Kate, what was your experience with What's your experience with Transformers in general?
I will say my experience with Transformers is that like up until 2 years ago, maybe, I was sure that Optimus Prime was a gorilla. Like, always has been, always will be a gorilla. Which tells you I have very little experience with the Transformers.
He's a gorilla in Beast Wars.
In
Is that
Beast
correct?
Wars, which is like, what, a decade after the first Transformers series, and it only
Yeah.
lasted like a season or something.
I mean, I think it lasted a decent amount, and then there's like Beast Wars comics. I remember it being pretty popular. I was a little out of the loop.
Yeah, I think what happened was Beast Wars was the thing that was on in the period that my brother and I both watched, like, Saturday morning cartoons, like the superhero kind of Saturday.
There are like 21 different Transformers
oh my
series.
gosh, there's so many.
It's a lot.
So yeah, to me, like, I think, did we have a conversation a couple years ago where you're like, an Optimus Prime? I'm like, oh, the gorilla. And you just look at me like, excuse me? And like several Michael Bay movies had come out at this point, and I hadn't seen any of them. So I'm like, oh, it's a gorilla robot, right?
A gorilla robot. What? Yeah, Optimus Prime, gorilla robot.
So what I'm trying to say is I knew Transformers was a thing, but I was wildly misinformed on it.
Well,
incompletely
you
informed.
had seen one piece of it, but not the piece that is most commonly referenced.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So yeah, I've now seen like 5 minutes of an episode of the 80s TV series.
It's like if you had seen a Treehouse of Horror on The Simpsons, and I was like, hey, have you seen The Simpsons? Oh, that
like Bart has tentacles.
Yeah, that show where it's like a horror trilogy every episode. What?
Yeah, it's very much like that.
No.
So now I know I did know that theme song, the More Than Meets the Eye, Robots in Disguise.
Yeah.
That's it.
That's.
Now I've seen the movie and 5 minutes of an episode.
That's true.
And a couple isolated clips of the Michael Bays.
That's true.
That's it.
Correct.
And so with that information, I am going to summarize this movie, but not until we hear your experience with Transformers, Dick Ward.
So I'm a boy, and I was born in 1982. So I have a lot of childhood experience with Transformers. I loved Transformers as a kid. I had some cool Transformers, including Grimlock, who ended up being a favorite character of yours.
That's correct.
He's the Tyrannosaurus-looking Dinobot. I had Grimlock. I never had Optimus Prime because he was more expensive, and he's like a big tractor trailer truck. Mm-hmm. So I had, I had a bunch of them. I had a cool tank that also turned into a robot that also turned into a plane.
What are those? Those are the triple guys?
Yeah, like triple things.
Triple formers.
Yeah, and like Transforming stuff was all the rage. So I also had GoBots as a kid, and I also had Rock Lords, guys who transformed into rocks.
Oh.
Yep.
That's neat.
For some reason, I really loved them for a couple of years. One of my friends had the Rock Lord plane, which looked like a poo.
Uh-huh.
Not
the Simpsons character.
No, like it looked like
a poop.
It looked like a flying poop.
Uh-huh.
And I had whoever the leader of the Rock Lords was, and I also had Nugget. Who was like a little gold nugget that my sister gave me on the day she was born. So I was taken to the hospital and they gave me a toy to keep me.
Speaking of nuggets, I did have those Dino McDonald's Transformers that transformed into like a chicken nugget or a fries box.
Oh.
I'm just remembering that now. That's not really Transformers, but
it was sweet.
They switched from one form to another.
For Transformers, for this movie specifically, I know I saw it in the theater. Mm-hmm. And, well, okay. My memory of childhood is hazy. I believe that I saw this in the theater, and I remember distinctly, though no one can verify this, that I was being like noisy or cheering too much or something, and an adult, who I thought was my mom, but she claims this never happened, an adult took me up the aisle a little way to say, hey, you've got to be quiet and watch the movie. And then we sat down and watched the rest of the movie. I almost got removed from the movie. No one remembers this but me.
Was it Jeffrey Katzenberg?
It might have been. What?
Oh, we should cut the Transformers. This kid is restless. We should take all the Transformers out of this movie.
That's a deep reference to Jeffrey Katzenberg in The Little Mermaid. So yeah, I have that memory. I have no idea whether it's true, but it feels true to me.
Yeah, that's traumatic if it did happen.
Also, like, I'm not a
weird.
kid that misbehaved.
Right.
So I don't know.
That's a weird adult thing and that's all very weird.
Thank you.
I'm sorry if that happened to you. But if it didn't happen to you, what a fascinating imagination you have.
And this is a memory I've had all my life. And I've tried to confirm with adults all my life. And everyone's like, what? What are you talking about? No, that never happened.
Huh.
Nope.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Well, now you've seen it, and I didn't ask you to leave or quiet down.
No, I watched it. So I've seen it once or twice since then. But this is the first time seeing it in years. Of course, I know, I still listen to Stan Bush's The Touch every once in a while. The song that goes, "You got the touch."
Oh, this soundtrack is.
And that song was released for Rock Band or Guitar Hero. I can't remember which, but one of my friends and I downloaded it, and I lost my voice because I cannot sing that high, but I still tried.
Well, speaking of trying, I am going to.
Oh my God, I can't wait to talk about the soundtrack in general.
Yeah, that's true.
By the way,
I have tasked myself with the summary of this movie.
Yeah.
Because I've been trying really hard.
Because
I knew nothing about Transformers.
With this movie.
I did, but now I think I can do it.
Okay.
I wanna do a service to the movie and to people who know that Optimus Prime isn't a gorilla.
And to me.
Yeah, and to you.
Thank you.
This is for you and Spencer.
Aw.
So, all right, here I go for 2 minutes. If you'd like to add a soundtrack, like humming in the background, you're welcome to do so. Just don't make it distracting, which would be unlike the movie's soundtrack.
Okay.
So, all right, ready? Here I go. There's a Unicron. It's Orson Welles. It's not a unicorn, which is what they might say. It's Unicron. It's a big old planet, kind of like a Death Star, that's kind of like attacking the Transformers planet. And there's two types of Transformers, the Autobots and the Decepticons. They're at war, but now their planet gets like destroyed and out of resources because of the Unicron who's trying to eat everyone. Anyway, they crash land on Earth or something like Earth. There's a little boy whose dad is a Transformers astronaut, but a human. And then Hot Rod, they're fishing, but then they see the plane crash or whatever, and then they go to see what's going on, and then Autobot and Decepticon battle, and then Optimus Prime, the main Transformer, dies. What? And then Megatron, the main bad guy, also kind of dies because he has a conversation with Unicron, and he's like, I can make you more powerful. It's like a Faustian bargain, but he takes it and he turns into Galvatron, which is just like a bigger gun Transformer, and he blasts apart Starscream, his evil henchman. They're trying to figure out who's going to be in charge. Nope, Galvatron's in charge. Galvatron goes down, fights the new replacement for Optimus Prime, who I'm not super sure where that is. There's Dinobots. They're funny and they help. And then there's like shark robots, and Rodimus Prime and another guy go to this planet with the shark robots, and the Dinobots help them escape. And then there's another big fight. This movie is mostly fighting, and they defeat the Decepticons. And it turns out Hot Rod is the new savior of the Autobots. He's the new Optimus Prime. He gets the special gem. They defeat Unicron, who's now become this giant robot, from the inside out by blowing up his like heart, kind of like Monster House. And then the Decepticons go away, and Rodimus Prime is born out of Hot Rod, and that's what the Transformers are now.
That was surprisingly
Why
good.
did that just cut off?
I don't know. Kate, that was surprisingly good.
I told you. I tried because
you had a rough time watching this movie.
Here's the thing.
Yeah.
My dad, Jerry. No, I swear this is going somewhere. It's well known in my family that if Jerry is watching a piece of media in a dark room, there's an 80% to 100% chance he's going to fall asleep.
There's a 100 to 120% chance he's going to fall asleep.
Okay, so live theater is a little different. Yeah. Live theater, I would say like 50 to 80%, depending on the show. Yeah. So my high school put on The Merchant of Venice one year, and like our theater department was awesome and this director was awesome, but he was like in his last year before retirement, and like we think that he either had some like vision or like consciousness problems himself, because this particular production was kind of bonkers, like so bonkers that like after
the Disney Plus TV show Bonkers.
No,
Okay.
Like after auditions were done, he congratulated one of our like standby actors on like the part, and he's like, "Oh, Mr. Saxvik, I didn't make the show." And we think he cast someone as the lead of Merchant of Venice, thinking it was this other guy who had like been in a lot of theater before, and instead he cast a guy who had not been in theater before and wasn't very good at acting, and we didn't know what he was thinking, but apparently he might have been thinking opposite of what happened.
Oh, he just got the names wrong.
He got the names wrong.
Oh boy.
Like he congratulated this guy.
Wait, what does this have to do with Transformers?
Anyway, so it was a bonkers production. There was a lot of like weird scene like concepts and things, and because not everyone was maybe cast right, like it's still the Shakespearean dialogue, it was hard to follow. The way my mom describes it, she's sitting next to my dad and she's thinking like in the first 10 minutes, she's like, "Oh, Jerry's gonna fall asleep." No, my dad like leaned in and squinted through the whole 2 hours trying to figure out what was going on. And it reminds me of how I felt during Transformers.
Oh.
We did start it like at night, so we did have to watch it in 2 parts because I did just fall asleep like after an hour.
Yeah.
But I think that would have happened no matter what movie it was.
Yeah, that's not a judgment on Transformers. That's you fall asleep.
But I was trying so hard because this movie has a lot of great intentions, and actually it's fantastic for what it could have been. Like, we're going to talk about all the reasons, but for a wide variety of reasons, I could not follow this movie for the life of me. We did a
recap. So we watched like an hour of it one night, and then in the morning you were like, "Okay, wait, what happened?" And we did a quick recap, and I think that helped with the last half.
It really did.
Yeah.
And I do think the last like 30 minutes are clearer than anything in the first hour.
There are parts of this movie that are stronger, and there are parts of this movie that are not.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I was trying so hard because I knew coming in, I'm like, Transformers isn't my thing. I could like not pay attention to this movie, but I wouldn't be a good podcaster. I wouldn't be respectful to this suggestion. I wouldn't be respectful to this movie that from all other accounts are like, this is an impressive movie. So I squinted and I tried my best.
You're a professional.
I'm a professional. But then I went back, and I feel like multiple times we kind of bullet pointed the show.
Yeah.
So thank you for your compliments on my summary.
Yeah.
I tried really hard.
Good.
Just like my dad at the Merchant of Venice.
Excellent. So, Kate, let's talk about Transformers.
Yeah.
Let's talk a little bit about. Do you want to start with the origin of the Transformers?
Sure.
Or do you want to talk about the movie?
Well, I don't know. Yeah, let's start to talk about why I was squinting, right? Like, so I think there are a couple factors.
Yes.
One, didn't know the Transformers, and this story just jumps in like you know everyone.
Yeah, it does not like very early on, and this I haven't watched Transformers stuff in a while. Like I've seen like the Michael Bay movies, Grumble, or like 2 of them. But like I haven't seen the original Transformers series in a long time. But this movie absolutely assumes that you have, because important characters die in the first 10 minutes.
But I don't really know that they're important either. Like I kind of do, because like Optimus Prime's death scene is pretty like, it's a big deal.
Yeah, but that's like 20 minutes.
Yeah.
But like right at the beginning, you've got Megatron infiltrates a Transformers ship and just like straight up kills people. But it's like
an Autobot ship.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry, an Autobot ship. Straight up kills people, hijacks the ship. You don't know, because you haven't seen the show, you don't know these characters. This is clearly made for people who have watched the show.
And I don't mind a good in medias res and then getting it untangled later.
Yeah.
I don't mind that. That's not what this was.
No.
They're just like, get on, like, you've watched the show or you haven't. And I feel like prior to seeing this, the closest would be like the South Park movie where like, I know there's a lore that I'm supposed to know about. But again, the South Park movie did a pretty good job of giving you kind of a catch up 10 minutes where if you know the characters, it's funny because they're saying funny things. But if you don't know the characters, you get a brief intro of like, here's who these four are. Now we're going to go.
How might you compare this to Megan? So,
this is more like My Little Pony, for sure.
Similar thing where My Little Pony is like a Saturday morning cartoon and made into a movie very quickly.
Yeah.
And completely assumes that you've seen all the episodes because 20 minutes in, they're like, well, we should talk to Megan. And we're like, who is that?
Who is Megan? And I think another thing it has to do with My Little Ponies is that it's just like, here's 20 of them, figure it out. And My Little Pony, at least you have the helper of like, oh, this cutie mark is different. Is that Shades? Oh yeah, she's got sunglasses on her butt. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, they are named after the thing that is on them.
Yeah, but they don't have different personalities.
No.
The ponies don't.
Generally.
And that was another problem I had with Transformers, is that, like, none of them had characters. Some of
them had characters.
I will shout out.
Yeah.
People who had characters. Starscream?
Yes.
Starscream.
Starscream.
Hot Rod.
Yeah.
Hot Rod had, I would say, less of a character than just a distinctive voice.
But Hot Rod, I feel like, is a nice guy.
Yeah, he's a nice guy.
That can be his character.
That's true.
Yeah.
He's not as serious. He's a little lighter.
Yeah.
The Dinobots are characters. Done.
Cup.
Nope. I didn't know who he was at any point. I couldn't say his name later.
He's Hot Rod's friend.
Right.
He's named Cup. He keeps telling war stories.
Oh, that was that guy. Okay.
Yeah.
I thought that was a couple different characters maybe.
No, I liked Cup.
Looking back,
I like
sure.
that his name is Cup.
Maybe
I know it's with a K,
maybe
but
with
it's still
some
funny.
Maybe with some background information, Cup didn't penetrate
We'll
the
watch it
first
again.
layer
We'll watch
of
it
my
again
understanding.
tonight.
So, yeah, and that was it. So, like, once Starscream was dead, I'm like, oh no, I don't have.
That's the villain I was
and like
attached to.
Hot Rod hasn't been around for a while. I thought he was maybe a B character, and he kind of is treated like that for a while.
Yeah.
So I'm like, oh, I have no anchor in this because of a couple of reasons. All the voices are like middle-aged white men with deep voices who are being heavily vocodered.
Yeah, there's a lot of effects on their voice.
So, like, I know Orson Welles is
sound
in
robotic.
this. I'm not sure I would have known had I not known that he was in it. Like, the Unicron voice, I will say, is a little bit more gravitas-laden. But I don't know if I would have figured out that it was Orson Welles.
Leonard Nimoy just sounds like a Transformer.
Leonard Nimoy sounds like, to me, a novice, sounds like Optimus Prime.
Right.
Sounds like the guy who replaces Optimus Prime. Sounds like any given number of Transformers on the screen at one time.
Yeah.
And their character designs are all the same, too, when they're robots.
On that, we disagree.
Okay.
Pretty strongly. I think their character designs are generally individual. I can tell the difference between Optimus Prime and Hot Rod really easily, and Cup really easily. There are a lot of Transformers that do get just kind of lost in the mix.
Yeah.
But I think there are enough differences where, like, especially compared to something like My Little Pony, right? They're not as distinct as Pokemon, where it's like, this one is a dolphin.
Right.
This one is a volcano bug or something. But I still think if you gave me, like, I don't know if they'd totally pass the silhouette test. But
Absolutely not.
I think a few of them would. Like Optimus, I could tell you for sure.
But I don't know.
Starscream, I could tell you for sure.
Optimus was on the lower end of my list of recognizability.
Yeah, I was
for someone who
surprised by
didn't
that.
know, because there are.
Well, there
are
specifically
a lot of gray, red, and blue Transformers in this movie.
There's specifically one that looks just like Optimus Prime.
But, like, I guess, like, now that I know them a little better, I see the truck windshield in Optimus Prime's like chest plate. But not knowing him before, I'm introduced to several red, blue, and gray ones at one time.
Yeah.
And I think I had to ask you who was Optimus Prime, or you had to ask me, like, do you know who that is?
Gorilla.
I'm like, I don't. Yeah, where's the gorilla? Megatron is all gray. And when he turned to Galvatron, he had some blue, so that was confusing for me.
Megatron, I think, is another one that's like
Megatron's
pretty individual looking.
Hot Rod is hot pink and orange.
Yep.
I like that.
Makes it easier.
There's no other hot pink and orange. But even like Starscream, if he wasn't talking, is also red blue based, right? The fact that you can't tell me, that's a case in point.
But what about Cassette Tape Wolf? You know?
Well, Cassette Tape Wolf, yeah. Yeah, I mean, we've mentioned this before on this show. We do a segment just in life off mic called Kate Asks. So if there's a universe I don't understand, like Star Wars or Gremlins or Tremors, and we're just sitting down for an indiscriminate amount of time, I'll just start asking questions about the universe.
And I will do my best to answer.
Will lead to another. It opens up pockets of abyss that neither of us know how to get out of.
Oh.
It's really fun. And the whole movie, I was trying not to start a Kate Asks on Transformers because I had so many questions.
You waited until the 20-minute mark and you said, can we pause? I have a few questions.
Yeah.
You did so good.
Because I didn't, like... And they break the rules all the time, right? Of like, okay, so each one of them is a robot and something else.
Yeah.
Except for this one, who's a dog and something else. But does he ever be a robot?
Is he ever like a humanoid robot? No.
He's a dog who turns into a cassette tape. And the
Autobots... To be clear,
Autobots...
he's a robot dog.
And then the Autobots, it's named Auto because they're cars. But some of them are boomboxes.
Yeah.
And some of them are like telescopes
yeah.
or microscopes. And then the Decepticons don't just turn into weapons; they also turn into cassette tapes.
Well, but they're
shit.
deceptive about it.
And like, do they transform to hide from the humans? No, that's just something they do on their planet. But why would you need to turn into? I've still got so many questions.
So one thing I do want to mention is I came up with a metaphor for these Transformers voices, which is Transformers are just like 80s wrestlers. Where like most 80s wrestlers, like you've got three types of 80s wrestlers. You've got really buff guys screaming. You've got really fat guys screaming. And then you've got guys like the Bushwhackers who are like goofy guys screaming or like dumb guys screaming. And they can be really indiscernible from one another. But like it's still like, okay, I don't know. Oh, goofy guys. I like goofy guys. Like that's like that reminded me of the Dinobots.
The Dinobots. They ended up being my main anchor through this movie.
The first scene that you the first scene that you liked was Hot Rod fishing with the kid.
Because I could understand what was going on.
And it was a nice break. It was just like, hey, we're fishing.
Robot sitting on the side of a mountain, fishing in a lake.
It's a cute scene, and
there are multiple colors on the screen.
He gets the fish and he holds it up. He's like, "Whoa, it's huge!" And it's like very tiny compared to him. It's fun.
Yeah.
But then the next scene, then there was like a bunch of battle, and then the next scene that you really liked was
with the introduction of the Dinobots.
Yeah.
Where it's like we're Dinobots now, and at this point, I'm like, sure, why not? But they have these like fun voices and they're clearly comedic, and then they try to like squeeze them onto the ship, like kind of like a weird Noah's Ark kind of situation.
Me no go on ship, me Grimlock.
It just doesn't make any sense, but
it's
in a way that does make sense to me as opposed to everything else. Yeah, and so Dick, you mentioned the silhouette test.
Yeah. Say
more about that.
The silhouette test, if you see a character, it's something that Matt Groening has said in the past. And like that's where I heard it. I'm sure it's from elsewhere. But he's like, the thing about the Simpsons character design is if I show you a silhouette of one of the Simpsons, you can tell who they are. And that's how you know you've got a good character design. And
this is something that Disney does all the time too. It's just a good animation principle, but specifically I think about like Aladdin, where it's not only the silhouettes, but it's like the shapes, right? Like A genie is a big old loopy triangle. Carpet is a rectangle. Aladdin has like smaller triangles. Jafar is a triangle turned on top. The Sultan is just a round circle. Like, it not only passes silhouette test, but they're very contrasting silhouettes in that too. And to me, like, the silhouette test for Transformers didn't pass physically. It didn't pass vocally. Like, I couldn't tell any characters apart, which is a big difference from the Pokemons.
I was going to say, that's a perfect... because there is a segment wherein you are shown...
In the TV show.
In the TV show where you are shown a Pokemon silhouette and you have to identify it.
What is it? What's that Pokemon?
Who's that Pokemon?
Who's that Pokemon? Yeah. And they reference it in the movie too. They cute.
Reference it in the movie a few too many times, but the first time it's really cute. So...
And I can usually do it for Pokemon.
Yeah.
Or like, I know what it's supposed to be.
And they are designed... And that's... I will say, like... This is not necessarily the fault of the character designers / animators.
No.
And we will get to that. But the Transformers were not designed as cartoon characters from the ground up.
Nope.
Which I understand. You work with what you've got. You've got to do the thing that you do.
With what they gave me.
But Pokemon were designed to be easily identifiable on a black and green or green and gray Game Boy screen.
That's true too. Yeah, you don't have colors in the original.
Yeah, so they are designed, like, they are 100% designed to be identifiable in silhouette.
And
that's
everything about
what
them
they are.
Is, I mean, there are, let's even just stick with red and blue, right? There are 150, and that sounds like something a Kate wouldn't enjoy. Yeah. Like, I've come around to Harry Potter in my older age, but the reason I didn't read them growing up is I'm like, this is too much world for me to have to like figure out and then remember from book to book. No thanks.
Yeah.
So it seems like Pokemon with 150 characters is like a no thank you. But because, I mean, we had one of those like reference magazines when we were playing them.
A Pokedex?
I guess so.
Or do you mean like a Prima strategy guide?
Yeah, okay. I think so. But really the part that I looked at was just the pictures of the 150. They all look so different. Their silhouettes are different. Their colors are different. Yeah. Like you've said before, most of them have some kind of real world natural counterpart. Like Pikachu is a mouse, kind of.
He's a lightning mouse.
There's more, like, I mean, Charizard is a dinosaur, and Onyx is rocks. And
they're all evolutions, and a lot of them are evolutions of the others, so it makes it easy. Like, sure, there's 150 of them, but one of them is Bulbasaur, one of them is Ivysaur, one of them is...
Oh,
Bulbasaur, Ivysaur.
they said it.
Venusaur.
There we go, Venusaur. I'm like, that was the one in the movie. Yeah, and so we talk. So I'm thinking of my second grade orchestra unit at school, where we talk about instruments being recognized by how they look, how they sound, and how they're played. Right? Pokemon, how they look, different silhouettes. How they're played is kind of their powers. Right? I can look at a Pokemon and know, oh, this is a rock Pokemon. This is a water Pokemon. This is an electricity. And then when you get to the TV show, their voices sound very different. They say their name. That's what Pokemon say.
They say their name, which makes it very easy to remember their name. Like, which Pokemon is this? Eevee.
Pikachu.
I guess it's Eevee.
Yeah.
I guess it's Pikachu.
So I think that there is a classification system and not just
Grimrock does that too. Or Grimlock.
Yeah.
In the Transformers.
Grimlock might as well be a Pokemon. As far as I'm concerned.
Oh my God. Oh, I've got my crossover.
We both have a crossover. Done. We do have a time cap on this episode, so let's just do it now. No, we're fine. But yeah, so I think the classification system helps me a lot. That it's not just this unlimited, like, if it was just Autobots and Decepticons, cool. But then I have like another category that I didn't know about. And then there's this character that defies categories and we're just adding him in.
Yeah.
Pokemon, it's like there's a system.
They're all Pokemon.
And when there's a new one introduced, like Mewtwo, you get a little bit of information. It's not just thrown on like you should know what this is.
Yeah. And I will say, in fairness to Transformers, I feel like I'm going to say that a lot this episode. But in fairness to Transformers, this movie is mainly staying within the first 150 Pokemon. Like, there's a couple of outsiders, but like our main Pokemon are within the first 150. As soon as there's like more games that come out, it's like, cool, there's 100 more Pokemon now.
Right.
And then it becomes a whole thing.
Yes.
With the Transformers movie, we are between the first generation of Transformers and we are being introduced to the second generation of Transformers. Mm-hmm. So there is a lot of like, here are new characters that we have to throw at you.
Absolutely.
Whereas the Pokemon movie did not have that to go up against. It was kind of like, ugh.
I mean, and that's how Transformers started in the first place.
Yeah.
So let's.
So,
all right.
Pokemon started as a video game.
Sure did.
It has a plot.
A Japanese video game.
A Japanese video game. Yep. It has a plot. It has characters. Mm-hmm. You generally know the story.
You train Pokemon. You fight Pokemon. You learn things to fight bigger and better.
Yeah.
Battles.
So what do you make for the TV show? Oh, it's a kid training Pokemon, catching Pokemon, and going and beating a bunch of trainers.
Yeah.
Boom. Done.
Same thing.
Easy. Transformers. If you don't know the history of Transformers, I think everyone knows that it's a cartoon kind of created to sell toys.
Yes.
But the extent of that is fascinating because it wasn't created to sell the Transformers toy line.
It was, Optimus Prime and Megatron.
These were two different toy lines.
From Japan.
One was like robots that transformed into like cars, mm-hmm. and one was like robots that transformed into like gadgets.
Other things.
And they were like smaller. It was like Microbots and Chango bots or something.
Yeah.
And
Microman, yeah.
They were toy lines from like the same company, but they were kind of unrelated toy lines. Mm-hmm. They had names, but the names were like
Robo Gun or Gun Robo.
Yeah, which in like if you are a person living in Japan mm-hmm. and you speak Japanese, and this is called Gun Robo, not like in Japanese, right. It's just called Gun Robo
or Cassette Man.
It's kind of exotic and interesting because it's in English,
right.
which you don't necessarily know.
Right.
Just like if something is in Japanese, we're like, oh, that's a neat name, even though it might be in like strawberry.
Or Pocket Monsters. That's a real metaphor. That's Pokemon is Japanese for Pocket Monsters, right?
No.
Oh, Pokemon I've been lied to.
Pokemon is English
for
Pocket Monsters. It's just the words pocket and monster mushed together.
Sorry to our Japanese speakers. I thought that's actually what it meant.
No.
That's the lore that I had been fed, I think. Anyway.
There you go.
So never mind. It's not like that at all.
So here's what happened. It's Hasbro, I think.
Yeah.
Buys these two toy lines.
Yeah.
And then it's like, Marvel, we need you to create like a cartoon for these.
Well, because they're wondering, they're thinking, how do we sell these to American audiences? Yeah. We need to create characters and storylines. That's how American media works. Mm-hmm. So and then you have to create these in a weekend.
Yeah, so
we need like 26 names.
So there's a guy
in
at
the
Marvel
first episode
that like has to make a story behind them. And then he assigns another dude. He's like, hey, I know it's like Friday. I need 26 names.
Monday.
He
presents them Monday, and then they're like, cool, we need like a first comic book tomorrow.
Yeah, like they're just like cranking this out.
Yeah.
So they do it, and it works.
It works.
And they make a TV series.
Yeah.
And then they're like, they go to make the movie, and Hasbro, like if you watch the movie, Hasbro is in the opening credits.
Yeah.
Hasbro has the creative control here. Mm-hmm. So everyone's trying to make this movie that's like kind of like more adult and more serious and a little more complicated, and like we'll get into it more, but I think really well animated for what it is. And Hasbro's like, we're introducing the second generation of Transformer toys, so this movie needs to feature them. And also get rid of all the first generation.
Kill off everyone else.
Kill off Starscream and Optimus Prime and everyone else's favorites. And replace them with this second
people we've never met before.
It's fascinating. So with that, they have to make a movie.
So I will say we watched an informative, if maybe not Dick's favorite,
Oh my god.
piece on this. The series on Netflix, The Toys That Made Us, has a Transformers episode.
I highly recommend
The content.
the content of The Toys That Made Us. They do these I'm just.
You don't like the voiceover?
Can I just have a minute?
Absolutely.
On this?
Go for
the
it.
The Toys That Made Us has the most obnoxious narration because, like, one, the voice is like, "Whoa, these are the toys that made." It's like way too much, and also it's like presented like we're like idiot children because they're like, Optimus Prime's gonna live forever. I'm like, what? No, you just tell me about the toy. I don't need this.
I think it's meant to be tongue in cheek, but it just comes out
I hate it.
obnoxious. Yeah.
And then they have these like these
reenactments. That's always weird.
Which, like, the reenactment is, hey, would you mind making some Transformer names? Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Like, why do we need a reenactment?
And then they have the
that?
original people that they're reenacting there for interviews. So it's not even like, well, this person's dead.
They have these really interesting people for the interviews that are like not like given enough time.
Yeah. You could replace all the narration with just more interviews.
And then the narrator like kind of is making fun of them.
Yeah.
Because the one guy is like, yeah, we sold this many units in the first 3 months. The narrator's like, way to brag. And it's like, dude, you asked him to talk. You asked him to...
Anyway, it was fascinating. And it did... So not knowing anything about Transformers myself, it gave me a lot of insight. And I have, like, almost infinitely more respect for the movie at this point.
Yeah.
And I could see it in the movie, right? It was super clear to me, even as an outsider. I'm like, oh, they have new toys to sell.
Yeah.
That's why all of these things are changing rapid fire. But yeah, even just, I mean, we mentioned G.I. Joe earlier. One of the most interesting things was that Transformers actually were roundabout made because they wanted to sell G.I. Joe in Japan, but didn't have like the soldier story schema to work in Japan. So they turned the actual
American
mold.
soldiers aren't super popular in Japan.
But they turned like the G.I. Joe mold, like the doll, they instead of flesh color, they just made it clear and made him a robot.
Yeah.
So, and then eventually the robots could morph into other things.
Well,
so like
it was like
G.I. Joe kind of brought about the Transformers.
G.I. Joe had like arms and legs that were detachable, so you could like attach dog legs to him or whatever. And that ended up turning into Transformers, which like G.I. Joe was licensed from America, and then I think
from Hasbro specifically,
and then Hasbro licensed the toys that would eventually be the Transformers. From Japan. It's a really fun history.
So, given that none of these characters were supposed to be characters or have plots, the only reason that we have a good and bad team is because they stuck stickers on half of them to be Autobots and half of them to be Decepticons.
And in Japan, the kind of like story was like Megatron was a good guy. He was like, no, I thought like
I think they're all good guys.
Yeah, they're all kind of like good guy robots.
Yeah.
That are friends, but for America, they were like, cool. These guys are fighting a war against these guys. I guess these guys have the tape player one, and these guys have the microscope one.
But there's a tape player one in both, isn't there?
That's fair. Yeah.
I don't. So it does explain why I cannot tell the villains and the heroes apart in this movie, because they were never meant to be either. Like, yeah, and it for not having a plot at all, the plot they kind of, retrofit on top is actually like fairly cogent.
Super impressive for here are a bunch of toys, figure it
Sell
out.
them, right. So yeah, it's an impressive movie, and the animation is detailed. Like there's money.
Super detailed.
Yeah.
One of the things our fan Spencer suggested was either Wizards or Heavy Metal, which are like more adult oriented movies and a little more like towards psychedelia. Especially Wizards seems like it's totally psychedelic.
We watched the trailer. I am interested in seeing that movie.
And that I feel like has a similar attention to detail in animation.
And is that the same director? Is that
no?
Okay.
No. But it's interesting. I mean, and I think the the better comparison would be something like I don't know what was on at the time in Japan, but something like Gundam or Macross or like any like boy robot anime is going to be similar art style. But again, I'm just like watching stuff like watching Unicron transform and watching like the fights where there's rubble and stuff, like very, very, very cool animation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they've got it right. I mean, if they're selling toys that transforms, it better look good when they transform.
Transforming part better be
and
awesome.
it does. Yeah. I mean, with that, they spent a lot of detail on the backgrounds.
Yeah.
In many scenes, for me, it means that my eyes can't tell the difference between background and foreground. So I'm further squinting and leaning forward.
Yeah. And since everything is detailed, it's a little unclear.
Whereas Pokemon, you've got almost the opposite. Like the backgrounds are like super blurry watercolor. And even in most cases,
like the Pokemon is like,
here's the shape.
You're a yellow circle with eyes and a mouth.
Here's the outline. Yeah. There's no details within the outline.
Can we talk about some voice acting?
Sure.
I want to talk about. I want to go back to Transformers for a minute because there's a voice that we forgot to talk about, and then we could talk about Pokemon's voice acting. I want to talk about Eric Idle in the Transformers movie.
Yeah.
Do you remember?
Oh, very little.
How would you describe Eric Idle in the Transformers movie?
Befuddling and like possibly problematic, but maybe not really, just befuddling.
It wasn't clear if he was supposed to be like,
he almost like there's some samurai elements of his he plays like an army of which it's kind of like John Ratzenberger in Finding Nemo. He plays like all of this army of the same character, right?
Yeah.
And these characters have like a long mustache and kind of like a pointy. To me, they kind of read samurai a little bit.
Yeah. So it's not. But his voice is indecipherable.
I mean, I turned to you. I'm like, is this incredibly racist? Like,
is
he like fake speaking Chinese? Because I cannot understand a word he's saying. No. He's speaking English.
It seems like he's speaking English, but they're just like altering his voice so much that we can't understand.
He's not doing an accent. Like, it's not actually problematic. It just feels that way.
Yeah, but I just legitimately cannot understand
anything he's saying.
This, I mean, especially in the like early 80s, fairly prominent.
Yeah.
Like he's I mean, he's not the biggest get. He's not Leonard Nimoy or Orson Welles, but
he's no Weird Al.
Yep. So okay, we'll get back to. So there's some music in the Transformers movie, and I love it. It turns out I think this is where I started to love heavy metal.
I believe that.
This music is it's all gateway, right? And the movie starts with a like heavy metal version of the Transformers theme, which is awesome. Unquestionably awesome.
Oh, it's really good.
Even though they might say unicorn instead of Unicron.
I almost am sure they do.
Like, I should have looked it up because it's almost certain. And like the music throughout, like again, the touch is awesome. All the background music is Vince DiCola, who did the training montage in Rocky IV.
That inspired
the training montage in Mulan. It's all awesome. And then there's a fight scene where instead of like a cool heavy metal song, it's the song Dare to Be Stupid by Weird Al Yankovic.
But not sung by Weird Al, right? Sung by someone else?
Absolutely sung by Weird Al.
I thought in the credits it said it was sung by someone else.
Incorrect.
Okay.
It's Weird Al.
All right.
It's the song off of his album. It's Dare to Be Stupid. Weird Al is he just has a song in there. And I looked to figure out how that happened. And I saw an interview where Weird Al says, they asked me, someone called and they said, hey, we want to use your song in a Transformers movie because I was on the same record label as all those other bands. And I said, okay, how'd you get this number? But okay. And there it is.
And that's the song they choose. Like, the lyrics don't work for
It's-
a Transformers movie.
Like, unless it was, like, I don't know. Is it trying to say that this fight is not a fight worth having? Is it? It's unclear.
And I mean, the reason you mentioned the reason they probably chose it. Like for me, it seems like someone who did not speak English chose the song based on the way it sounds.
Right.
That's what it feels like to me. That's not what happened.
That's not what happened.
Because it's like a Devo, right? It's like a Devo knockoff kind of.
Yeah, it's Weird Al does parodies and he does
yeah.
homages.
Yeah.
And this is his homage to Devo.
Yeah.
Mark Mothersbaugh said, I listened to it and I was like, crap, Weird Al wrote a better Devo song than me.
So like musically, like aesthetically, it fits
Kind
in
of.
this movie, but not lyrically,
But like
and
Devo's
not Weird
not
Al's
a
voice.
metal band.
No,
It's
but
just-
like
it's such a weird
it's just
fit.
kind of electronic feeling.
Yeah,
right?
That's fair.
Like,
that's fair. It fits in with Vince DiCola.
And that you
better,
needed to point it out to me. Like I probably would have figured it out on the words "Dare to be stupid."
Yeah.
But before that, I wasn't noticing that it was a Weird Al song. But that's probably a sensory overload issue. Dick is very excited to share something next.
So that was a moment where I just looked at you expectantly, waiting for you to identify what was happening.
Yeah.
There was another time in the Transformers movie where I just looked at you expectantly, waiting for you to comment.
Oh no, was I asleep?
You were not.
What happened?
Character-
Let's bring us back there.
A character is in like a spaceship. I think he's a human, and he's flying away from an explosion. He says something, and then I look at you and wait for you to react.
It took me several seconds to realize this character had said, "Oh shit." What?
He just drops
In the Transformers the movies?
Yeah.
The movie?
The Transformers, the movie. A character goes, "Oh shit."
And there's another like, "God damn it," somewhere in there. And like, damn it, I get for the 80s, but oh shit. What is that doing in a
That's so
cartoon to
weird.
sell toys?
I forgot all about it.
That fried my brain.
Oh.
I think that might have been a tipping point. I don't
Oh,
know.
this
Or
movie.
maybe it made me pay attention more. I don't know.
This movie's I gotta say, kid, like for the oh shit, for the dare to be stupid, for the neep deep deep boop mini bob of the universal greeting. You remember that?
Yeah,
For
barely.
The sharks.
yeah.
Like
The universal greeting for a race or a universe where everyone seems to speak English.
everyone speaks the same language, but don't worry, we've got a universal greeting.
Except for Eric Idle. I don't know.
But I'm going to tell you what, I still enjoy this movie. I
It
really
definitely
do.
more memorable. I mean, there's a reason that we have more Transformers moments to talk about than
Yeah.
Pokemon. Like,
Yeah.
Pokemon just feels like a really good long episode of Pokemon.
Yeah.
It's confusing at the end, but like it's really clear. I mean, so Pokemon for me worked more as like a traditional storytelling outing. Like there is setup and there is payoff, both little things like Brock noticing that like, oh, I have a crush on this like hologram that's invited us to the tournament. Oh, I have a crush on this nurse. Wait a minute.
It's the same crush.
They look similar.
Yep.
And then later on you get the payoff that the nurse has been kidnapped to work for Mewtwo.
Brock
and
uses his super thirst powers for good.
But like there's like build up and there's the traditional elements of a story: exposition, rising action, climax, falling action. It works better for me as like a linear story.
Absolutely.
But it also means that there aren't as many what just happened moments. Although were there any for you, Dick?
Absolutely. And let's talk about this is kind of where I wanted to go talking about voice acting is most of the voice actors in this kind of suck. I'm just going to say it. I don't think they're great. Except I'm going to try and say it correctly.
Great.
Ikue Otani, who plays Pikachu.
So good.
Oh my god! And this is the same actor. She's played Pikachu for, I think, like forever.
It's
at
what
this
she
point.
does. Yeah. Jim Cummings and Pooh Bear.
In everything but like Detective Pikachu, I guess.
Right.
She's great.
Yeah.
She's
like
so good.
tour de force. And for serious, like Pikachu is just objectively lovable, even if you're just looking at him. And I think on the series, Pikachu is fun too, which is also a credit to her voice work. But here, like, Pikachu has some emotions and like it works really well. I'm gonna save the big one for scene shout out, but
Oh, you are? Okay.
I am, but like so expressive. You always know what Pikachu is saying, even though he's just saying Pika, Pika, Pikachu. Like it's the same 3 syllables the whole movie long, the whole franchise long, but it's just super clear intent, and the way she's able to milk so many different emotions out of those 3 syllables is really impressive.
Yeah. Quick shout out. She also plays Konohamaru in Naruto, who's like this tiny little kid that keeps trying to like beat up our main character.
Okay.
He's the character you would love in Naruto.
That already sounds, I'm already on board.
Yeah, she's great.
I didn't mind. So I never like the 3 main humans. I think they're boring on the show. I think the voice acting is like I think these 3 humans have contributed to some like false impressions I have about anime and Japanese animation in general, of that like it's very over the top in a way that doesn't work for me, and like there's a lot of like breath sounds like
Yeah.
And it's just like who makes those sounds in real life? Maybe it's more of Japanese ad libs instead of ums and ers, right? Like
or like I mean, when you're shocked, instead of saying like "oh my god," it's just like I think it's a thing that kind of can make sense.
Sure.
It's a voice acting style that emerged from elsewhere.
Yes.
Yeah.
But I will say that like I dislike those 3 in this movie. I dislike them less than any other place I've seen them.
Okay,
like
that's fair.
I actually didn't mind Ash. I thought he had some neat scenes.
Yeah.
I did like, although it was like very flat, I thought it worked. I liked Mewtwo's voice because it did distinguish itself from like this kind of over at like caricature acting of the other like humanoid kind of characters who spoke sentences.
Yeah, he was the only character that wasn't like super emotive.
Yeah.
He was just like, I am Mewtwo.
And it works both for his like character of like, I don't give a shit about this.
Yeah.
And it also worked for it. He's a psychic character, so his mouth doesn't move. It's just like he speaks telepathically.
And it sets him apart from the other characters and the other Pokemon in a really cool way. What did you think about the mysterious gypsy woman?
What?
Do you remember?
Wait. What?
There's a big storm, and like I think it's Officer Jenny is like, "Hey, no one's allowed to go out in this big storm."
Oh yeah, that was weird.
And then this other woman comes out and says, "There has been a horrible curse on this island." Or
storms like we've never seen before means there's bad psychic power in the air.
It was very strange.
So weird.
I want to give a special shout out to Team Rocket, though.
Yeah.
Who are over the top, but I always enjoy them.
See, I never do.
Oh, I love
and I enjoy
Team
them
Rocket.
here. I enjoyed them here.
When they just
well.
show up as Vikings.
Yeah.
Like, hey, we're Vikings
Just
with a boat. Can we
sail
take
them
you
to the tournament? Yeah. And it's neat because they give them, it's not quite a B plot, but they give them like alternate scenes while our hero characters are kind of learning more about Mewtwo and interacting with him. They're down below exploring his basement, and they're the ones who discover the cloning machine and like kind of the nefariousness of this operation.
Great.
And it's great as like this supplementary. They're the perfect characters to do that.
Yeah.
They've got the who's that Pokemon joke.
And Meowth is the one that, like, at the end, Ash is like, oh no, Pokemon shouldn't fight like this. But Meowth figured that out like 5 minutes beforehand.
Yeah, he and his clone realized, like, why are we doing this to ourselves?
Why are we fighting?
Why are we
This
fighting?
is stupid. We should be friends. We're both Meowths.
And that does, I have another clone moment in mind, but I want to save it for your scene shout out if you want it.
Okay.
I mean, one of the best clone moments in this movie, which is also a what just happened, is the 2 Pikachus just slapping each other.
I thought that was going to be your scene shout
Oh,
out.
no.
Oh, this is a great one.
No.
The Pikachus just slapped the Jesus
all the
out of each
Pokemons
other.
and their clones start to fight each other, but then they like get both fatigued and like really emotionally upset as they're doing it, which results in, and I hadn't seen this meme before. I don't know how I missed it, but it results in the two Pikachus just slap fighting and then like crying at the same time. It's like toddlers, like,
oh, so good,
who need a nap. And it's
so
just,
good.
but it like extends on for like 20 seconds. And
and they
it
do
becomes
get,
funny.
They do get exhausted and
they
then
do.
nap on each other.
They wear each other out.
It's great.
What a weird
It's so great.
thing. Well, speaking of scene shout out.
Ooh, or is it time to wrap this boy up?
I think it might be.
I think we've covered everything we need to cover. There's more to talk about with both of these, of course. But let's start wrapping this up. And the start of that is in our final cuts.
Final cut.
I remembered the segment name. Scene shout outs. Kate, do you have a scene shout out for Pokemon the movie, the first movie?
Do.
Yeah.
We didn't mention it because it's not really an important part of the movie, weirdly, but just like Optimus Prime dies in the Transformer movies, our most famous of characters, Ash, dies in the Pokemon movie.
Nope.
Yeah, so during this big like clone battle, Ash gets in between Mew and Mewtwo. He gets psychic zapped, double stereo.
Yep.
He falls down. He turns to stone. He turns gray, kind of like Optimus Prime.
Oh yeah, just like Optimus Prime.
So Pikachu runs up to the real Pikachu runs up to them because the whole one of the threads that isn't really expounded upon is like, well, Pokemon and their masters can never be friends because they're slaves, and Mewtwo's got a point, but somehow Pikachu and Ash are still friends, and we're supposed to be cool with it. Anyway, it's fine. They're friends.
It's fine.
Pikachu runs up to him, and Pikachu starts to try to revive him with electricity.
Yeah.
And so what ends up happening is the Pokemon version of Dad, you gotta get up, Dad. And I will be honest, I cried.
Yeah.
Because he just Pikachu, and on each chew he sends a lightning bolt to Ash to try to wake him up.
To try and zap him back to life.
Pikachu, Choo, choo. Like I'm tearing up now.
Okay.
Anyway, sorry about the microphone.
You're spiking the mic.
It's really effective.
Yeah.
And again, the voice work that she does is just incredible in this scene.
The amount of emotion she puts into the same 3 syllables over and over again.
And
like,
each one is different.
I am impressed by Vin Diesel. But
Groot.
I am Groot. Pikachu.
Yeah.
It's strong.
Yeah.
It's strong.
And is it Pokemon Tears that eventually revive him? I don't really know how it worked out, but I love that scene.
Yeah.
I love that scene.
Yeah.
What about you, Dick?
From Pokemon, so it's going to be the scene for me where I really felt the Pokemon were in danger, where Mewtwo is like, he's like, I'm not just going to beat your Pokemon. I'm going to capture them all and then clone them. And he sends out like these like sentient Pokeballs that are just like chasing the Pokemon. And like something happens where like all the Pokemon are being chased, and I yell at the TV, as I sometimes do, just put them in a Pokeball.
Put them in your own Pokeball.
And I think it's Brock or one of the other trainers is like, aha, don't worry, I'll put you in my Pokeball. He puts his Pokemon in the Pokeball, and then the evil Pokeball puts that Pokeball in. It's great.
It was really good.
But there's a scene where Pikachu is like running up a spiral staircase because he's running away from this, and he stops like every couple of seconds and just zaps all these balls out of the air. It's really just a really cool action
and he's like
sequence.
running out of energy, and like that's another good, again, voice acting, and just like Pikachu is the heart of this series in a
is the
real
character.
way.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I feel like there's sense memory of if you've played the game and you've seen your Pokemon go down in energy level, like you have that bar at the side, like there's that like stress memory that you have of playing the game.
Beep boom, beep boom, beep boom, beep boom.
Yeah. Really effective. That's a good shout out.
Yeah. What about Transformers? You got a shout out for us from Transformers?
I do.
The Transformers, the movie.
My shout out is the introduction of the Dinobots. I'm so lost in the movie at this point. I'm trying to stay awake. This is still the first half, the first attempt, trying to squint and lean in, staying awake, and then these dinos with different voices, different personalities, this like caveman way of speaking come on the screen. I'm like, oh, this is something new. And then they introduce them, and no sooner do they introduce them than then they're trying to squeeze them onto this like spaceship, and the dinosaurs aren't good at it. And so they're like, the robots are pushing them up the ramps, kind of like trying to herd cats. And the dinosaurs are making sound and like flipping wrong ways and making it really difficult. And it's hilarious.
It's great.
I could not stop laughing.
Yeah.
And it gave me strength for the next couple minutes of the movie. Really delightful.
Yeah, there's a couple of moments where the Dinobots. There's one where they go to like that planet, and there's like a Cheshire Cat kind of robot.
Oh yeah.
And like he's just like I think he tries to like outsmart Grimlock, and he's like, "Oh, this is too complicated, my plan." And then he's just like, "Come with me." Grim's like, "Yeah." It's something like it's wonderful. Nice. Yeah.
What about you, Dick, and Transformers?
Oh man, there's a lot in There's a lot of scenes that I like. As a whole, I don't know how well the movie flows or holds together, but there are a lot of individual scenes I like. So I want to give a shout out to the scene where I love Starscream, and I feel like generally his deal is like in the show, like Megatron has a slight cough, and Starscream is like, "I'm in charge now."
Yeah.
Is kind of like his go-to. So when he finally, like, he's in charge, he takes over, and he's just being a real prick about it, and he's got a crown for some reason.
Yeah.
And then
Galvatron.
comes in, and he's like, "Hey, guess what? You're no longer in charge.
Look at me. I'm the captain now."
Just disintegrates him.
Just one laser beam to the chest. Yeah.
Yeah. Like the scene is great, and the animation on Starscream just like crumbling to dust.
Yeah.
Oh.
And the crown falls off his head.
It's
and
so
then
good.
Galvatron
Just
stomps on the
smushes in it. Yeah. It's great. It's a well animated scene. It's really cool, and it's nice to see Starscream finally achieve his dream and then quickly get his comeuppance.
Out of here.
Like, he became in charge like 2 minutes before this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's great. I like that scene too.
Yeah.
Dick, if you were going to name an MVP of these two movies, from the characters themselves to the creators behind it to any other name or entity we have mentioned, who's your MVP?
All right, I want to give a sub MVP. I want to give a tiny shout out to you, Kate Phillips, for doing your best with a movie that was definitely not up your alley.
I tried.
You tried so hard. So
I did my best.
You're the mini MVP.
Thank you.
MVP, I am going to give to Orson Welles for sobering up enough to do this recording.
What was his quote on or the director's quote on Orson Welles?
He was like doing a book, or he's doing an interview or something, and he's like, "I just got finished recording, playing a planet that eats other planets against Cybertronian thing," or something like that. It's just so dismissive of the whole process.
But wasn't the director was like, "Yeah, I was surprised that Orson Welles was really excited to get on board," right?
Yeah, the director.
There was like,
yeah, Orson Welles in interviews is like, I don't know why I agreed to this. This is so stupid. And the director's like, I don't know. He was really excited when we talked to him.
He was excited to join the ranks of animation. He had a lot of respect for animation. And do you remember what your conclusion was?
Oh, he was drunk.
Yeah.
He was drunk.
Orson Welles agreed to this movie when he was drunk.
Yeah. Yeah, so it's kind of a joke shout out, but it does really lend the movie some gravitas, even though his voice is like altered past the point of recognition.
Yeah.
It's cool being like, it's like, oh yeah, Orson Welles, Citizen Kane, The Transformers, the movie. He's and this is his last on-screen role.
This is his last role, his last
Or his last film role.
Yeah, distributed role before his death.
So
yeah,
there you go.
That's part of the biography.
It's not quite Raul Julia as M. Bison, or was it M. Bison? It might have been overdrawn at the memory bank. Anyway, Raul Julia also not great last choices in movies.
Dick, show me your computer screen, or just read me the name that I'm going to say for my MVP.
Oh yeah, you're going to say
my MVP is
Merle Haggard.
Absolutely not.
Ikue Otani.
That's it. She's great.
Ikue Otani.
I have a lot more affection for Pikachu than I had realized.
Yeah.
And like we said, tour de force in this movie. She's fantastic. Oh, you just made a face.
Oh, she's 4'11".
Yes. Yeah. Oh, I like her. I just want to meet her.
Yeah.
Great. She's gonna be my best friend.
Yeah.
Star. Anyway, that's it. That's my MVP.
All right. Her pet name is Iku-chan.
Iku-chan.
Or Chan. Iku-chan.
Iku-chan. Okay.
Or Chan.
Cool.
Yep.
Crossover.
Oh, okay.
Crossing over these two movies in some way, shape, or form.
Do you have a crossover?
Well, the one we said earlier. Do we want to include that, or do we want to challenge ourselves?
Which one did we say earlier?
That the Dinobots should be Pokemon. Like Grimlock should be a Pokemon.
Oh,
because
okay.
I like that a lot. But I have another one in mind.
Oh, I was thinking specifically Grimlock and Meowth.
Grimlock and Meowth. Oh, together.
Yeah.
Okay.
Together, just on an adventure.
Oh, okay.
Meowth just like Meowth always outsmarts himself, and I think he could get into a lot of trouble with a dinosaur that is big and shoots fire, and might not be the brightest, but also
can't be outsmarted.
Yeah. Also, if he realizes that you're tricking him, he will breathe fire on you, or stomp on you, or whip you with his tail, or whatever else.
I like that.
So I think that'd be a fun pairing.
Yeah. In the 10-minute Mewtwo prologue, at some point he gets suited up in this badass armor.
So cool.
And kind of looks like an interesting transformer. I would want Mewtwo in that armor to visit specifically this movie.
Yeah.
Realize I don't know what's going on, and because Mewtwo wouldn't give a shit, he would just blast them all.
Yeah.
And he'd be like, "I'm the Transformer now." It would be a lot less confusing for me.
So it'd be like Starscream takes over, Galvatron melts him.
Mewtwo immediately comes
Galvatron
next.
takes over, and Mewtwo's like,
"You are all slaves to your Hasbro master. None of you deserve to live." Done.
Love it.
Done.
Cool. Yeah. Oh man, what's next?
Well, Dick, we're going to take each of these movies and put them through the final cut. Yep, we said enough words.
We did it.
Dick, Pokemon, the first movie. Do you re-release as is? Do you special edition in some way, either the film or evolve it into another media, or do you lock it in the vault with Song of the South and the Michael Jackson episode of The Simpsons that's not being released on Disney+.
Not being released on Disney Plus because of the horrible things he did.
And Michael Jackson is the only person involved in Disney Plus who's done horrible things. The only actor, entertainer.
Definitely no one else horrible related to Disney in any way.
Nope.
Just Michael Jackson.
Dee.
Which, by the way, okay, let me just a minute.
Oh, we're gonna do this.
No, just by the way, if we do end up letting Michael Jackson back on Disney Plus in the future, can we get Captain EO? Thank you.
And put a disclaimer like they've done with the Dumbo boards.
Yeah.
So, Dick, what do you do with Pokemon, the first movie?
This is a hard one because I feel like it can be improved. Mm-hmm. I'm just not sure. I mean, my special edition is to break off the Mewtwo intro from it.
All right.
Just to break that back off.
Break it off.
And give me like a 2 minute thing.
Got it.
Other than that, it's fine. It's a Pokemon movie. It's fine.
Yeah.
Yeah. What about you?
Yeah, I think this is a TV movie more than a theatrical release.
Yes.
It's absolutely a TV
Yeah.
movie. But yeah, I guess I guess I fixed the ending, but I don't really know how. I mean, because to really follow through with that, like violence is bad, these are slaves, you'd have to kind of like end the franchise.
You have to stop Pokemon.
Yeah, you have to stop Pokemon, or like now Pokemon, like solve mysteries. Like maybe
like a detective.
Yeah. Oh. Ah. Done.
Okay.
Or just like, yeah, okay, there we go. The end of the movie turns into the world of Detective Pikachu, where they're like friend, apprentice, co-workers instead. I mean, there are still battles, but it seems like battles are less of a thing.
It seems like they're underground.
Yeah. Yes, Pikachu. It does.
Yeah.
So great. It's a prequel to Detective Pikachu.
Nice.
Done.
Okay.
And Mewtwo's involved in that one too, so we're good.
There we go.
Great.
Kabloom.
What do you do with Transformers, Dick?
I want to do a special edition of this because I want to clear some stuff up. Mm-hmm. I want to fix some plot issues. I want to fix some pacing, and a little bit the background music, because the background music is distracting at points. Like this, there are songs that are like, we're having fun, rock and roll, while a cup is being eaten by an underwater robot squid. But I just re-released this.
Man.
It is such a timestamp. It is a time and it is a place, and it is so much a reflection of where, as a culture, we were at this time. And I think we could put a Disney Plus disclaimer on it. And I think okay.
There may be lack of plot that was culturally appropriate at the time.
Here's how I re-released this.
It wasn't culturally appropriate at the time.
I add on a 20-minute intro, which is just an explanation of like, hey, before you like if you go to Alamo
Are you just
going
to put the Mewtwo prologue onto this one?
No, it's just a pro, and it's like, here is what happened.
Yeah.
They put a bunch of toys on our desk and said, make a series. And then we did it.
Yeah.
And then they were like, cool, make a movie.
Yeah.
You've got to get rid of those first batch of toys and put in the second batch of toys. And this is what we came up with.
So this is what okay.
So that's what I would do. Kate.
I'm going to take that a step further, Dick.
Go for it.
Because what I was going to do is I was going to put it in the vault, but like Old Yeller style, where like, it's okay, boy. You tried your best, but like, it's okay. Like, go in the vault. We love you. We love you, but this is not a movie. No, but what I like better is taking your idea and turning this into a special documentary now episode. So what you do is Bill Hader is the guy that works at
For people that haven't seen Documentary Now.
It's Bill Hader and Fred Armisen satiring existing documentaries in half-hour episodes.
Yeah, it's great.
So documentaries that are like a little bit on the weird side and have laughable moments, they just condense it and just mine all the jokes out of it and make the characters even more twisted. I think it could work here. So it's like, it's a two-parter, right? The first part is the Hasbro and the Marvel people. Yeah. And then the second part is like a Rob Schmeigel type parody of the Transformers movie. Because what I need in the Transformers movie is I just need them to be aware that it's bonkers.
Yeah.
And that, I would love that. And in a half-hour form, I would love it even more.
Yeah.
So that's what I want.
Nice.
Thanks for helping with that.
That would be really fun.
Yeah.
I would watch the hell out of that. Nice.
Cool. Well, this is...
Oh my God, this was really fun.
We did it.
Yeah.
Oh man.
Yeah.
This is day 92. This is day.
No, this is just normal.
3,000.
This is a normal episode, not part of 30 Days of Plus. Another thing that we're doing.
If you do want to follow that, they're kind of released as bonus episodes. Is that how they are?
They're released as bonus episodes. They're just going to show up on your feed as normal.
Yeah.
But your podcast player may not say season or episode. It might say bonus episode.
But if that sounds like too much work, we totally get it. We
It
release
sounds like
episodes
too much work to us, too.
every other Monday. And thank you again to Spencer for the
Spencer,
Transformers, the movie
This
suggestion.
was super fun. And Spencer sent us some links to help us with some research and some great suggestions for
really
some other stuff that we're
went
going to
all
be
out.
looking at in the future for some like cool, weird music stuff.
Yeah.
So,
we have other ideas based on
we
some
have
suggestions
some
he gave.
ideas.
So if you would like to suggest a single movie, a pairing, a menu, you can reach us. It's always Cellmates Podcast, 1L, on Twitter, Facebook, at gmail.com, and .com.
Yep.
We're available on all the listening apps we know of.
Yeah.
And if we're missing from yours, let us know on one of those social media outlets.
Absolutely.
Cool.
Hey, yeah. So, thanks for listening. And from us at Cellmates Podcast to all of you out there, dare to be stupid.
Pika.
Cheers.
Actually, I think I can do Transformers plot. I would like to try. Would that be funny or would that be disrespectful?
If you're nice.
No, I'll be nice.
Okay.
Because I think I've thought about it more of like, wait, what was the plot of that movie?
Yeah.
That I've had to unpack it more.